Hey there nation, welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and we are back with another episode of Shadows over Mordheim. This is a series of weekly Mordheim battle reports, and this is battle report number 7, a hidden treasure scenario that is fought between Dark Lord Mac as well as myself. Dark Lord Mac is bringing Spikeclaw Swarm, a Clan Eshin Skaven warband, and I'm bringing the Meridian Freeblades, my Marienburg Mercenaries warband. So I've been looking forward to this battle report specifically for a while now. And the reason why is because this is a classic Mordheim matchup. For those of you who are unaware, when Mordheim was first released, the initial box set contained a Skaven warband as well as a Marienburg Mercenaries warband. And that's basically what started off the game. So I'm super excited to play this game because it's kind of like going back to the old school days of playing Mordheim. So with that being said, we're going to play some background music real quick. If you want to see exactly what we're taking for our warbands, go ahead and pause and take a look at your own leisure. So that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Crom, I've never prayed you before. I have no tongue for it. No one, not even you, will remember if we were good men or bad, why we fought or why we died. No. All that matters is that two stood against many. That's what's important. Power pleases you, Crom. So grant me one request. Grant me revenge. And if you do not listen, then to hell with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Alright, so the battle report for this one is Hidden Treasure. Pretty much the idea is that both sides organize on either side of the table. They deploy 8 inches on the table edge from opposite sides, and pretty much the idea is that you have to search each of the buildings on the battlefield. You roll 2d6 for every battlefield that your fighters explore. On a roll of 12, that person has found the treasure. And of course, buildings inside the deployment areas are not searched because obviously they'll be too close to you. Because the idea is that once you find the treasure chest, you have to take that treasure chest and travel back to your own deployment zone in order to escape. Whoever happens to find the treasure chest, if they bring it back on their own, their movement allowance is divided in half to represent them lugging the treasure around. If 2 warriors are dragging the treasure chest, then there's no movement penalty at all, as they both kind of carry it out as well. Pretty much the idea of the game is that whoever warband manages to get the treasure to safety are the ones who win, and if the enemy also fails a route test, then the game immediately ends, and whoever's left over is the one who wins the chest on that one as well. For experience, 1 point of experience for any fighter as well as a hero or henchman who participates in the battle report and survives. Also, the winning warband leader also earns an additional experience points, and also heroes earn an additional experience point for each enemy he manages to put out of action as well. And that pretty much makes the scenario rules on this one. And also, I forgot to mention, when you get the treasure chest, you roll a couple of d6 to figure out exactly what's inside of it, and of course you add that to your merchant phase when you go about the trading posts and buying things. So with the scenario rules over, let's go and talk about the battle plan real fast. Alright, so we're playing on a 4x4 table. Here's an overhead shot of the entirety of the battlefield. As you can see, we have lots of ruins in this one, also a lot of buildings spread throughout the entirety of the battlefield. And one of the things I actually want to draw your attention to real quick on this battlefield before we even get any further the plan that I have, I want you to notice the building on the lower left hand corner. If you'll notice, that is a building that is ruined. It's got a blasted apart ceiling. It's a double-decker building with destruction on the inside of it. That is a newly created terrain piece by our terrain wizard Iron Major. I want to show you guys that real quick. We'll do a video, a hobby side video where we actually showcase the terrain for Mordheim, but Iron Major has been on a roll recently making us terrain for our Mordheim campaigns, and that thing is exceptionally detailed and just really excellent as well. Also, if you notice in the center of the battlefield as well, we also have like this thin stone structure that's built right in the middle of the battlefield. That is a series of dried up and destroyed aqueducts that Iron Major has made for us as well. We're going to use them as kind of like catwalks and bridges for our Mordheim battle reports as well. So you can see it kind of cuts across the entire of the building. We got walkways branching off of it. It looks amazing. And like I said, I'll do another video with Hobby Side where we actually focus in on actually how we went about making that and what it looks like, because it's absolutely beautiful terrain on that one. So I just want to draw you guys' attention on that before we get on the battle plan. Pretty much like I said, the battle plan for this one is I have to search all the buildings. So I pretty much have my warband set up in like a screen formation with little fire teams spread throughout the entirety of my deployment area. Pretty much the plan is to advance slowly across the battlefield, check every major structure for the treasure chest, and once the treasure is found, try to grab it and bring it back. And then whoever manages to find the treasure chest, because it's kind of like a movement to contact, they'll get the treasure chest and pull out, and the rest of the teams will then swarm in to protect them as they try to escape as well. So you can see I got a fire team on the left-hand side, one in the center, one on the right-hand side, so that way they can just kind of maneuver through and look for things as well. And at the same time, try to shoot any Skaven as best I can. Unfortunately, Dark Lord Mac does not have any range attacks for his warband, while pretty much everybody in my warband is packing at least a pistol, so the range game is basically in my favor as well, so that part's kind of nice. So with the battle plan over, let's go and talk about deployment real fast. Alright, so first of all, for my left-hand side for the Meridian Freeblades, in the left-hand side there, that is Heckle. He's actually one of my young bloods. He's equipped with a sword as well as a pistol. And right next to him on the right-hand side, that is Burke, who's my champion. He's also equipped with a great weapon as well as a knife as well as a bow. And then right behind him, of course, is Tulak, who's one of my marksmen. He's one of my henchmen. He's equipped with an axe as well as a blunderbuss as well as a bow. And that makes up my left-hand deployment for this one. In the center of the battlefield is where the majority of my fighters are located at, right between the beer house as well as the ruins on the left-hand side. That's a little 5-man fire team. Starting on the back there, we have Commander CheapSkate, who's my mercenary captain. He's equipped with a brace of pistols. He's got a shield as well as a leader skill. Right in front of him on the left as well as the right-hand side are two of my swordsmen. That is Wedge on the left-hand side as well as Biggs. Both those guys are packing swords, pistols, shields, and they have the expert swordsman skill as well. On the left-hand side in the front, that is Darrows. He's actually one of my warriors. He's got a sword, pistol, and shield. And right next to him on the right-hand side, that is Jasper. He's also a warrior who's also got a sword, pistol, as well as a shield. And that pretty much makes up my deployment here in the center of my battle deployment. And finally, over here on the far right-hand side, over on the front, I have one of my young bloods. His name is Jekyll. He's armed with a sword as well as a pistol. Right behind him is Yasta, who's a marksman who's equipped with axe, blunderbuss, as well as a bow. And then finally behind them, that is Haig. He's my champ. He's got a halberd. He's also got a knife as well as a bow as well. And that pretty much makes our deployment here on the right-hand side. So with deployment over with, we go directly across the battlefield and go to Dark Lord Mac's deployment area. So all the way across the other side of the battlefield is my friend Dark Lord Mac's deployment up in the top for the Spikeclaw Swarm. Over on the left-hand side, leading that is Slipper the Swarm. He is a Verminkin who's equipped with a sword as well as a shield. And right behind him is Snarl the Rabbit, who's a Night Runner. He's got a flail. And then right behind him is Crick the Almost Trusted. He is the Eshin Sorcerer in this group. He's packing a halberd. He's also got the Black Fury spell as well, which he used in great effect against the Shadow Warriors the last time he fought in a battle report. And that pretty much makes up Dark Lord Mac's left-hand deployment. In the center of his deployment area, right between the castle wall as well as the aqueducts where that rune is located at. In the back, that is Scritch Spikeclaw. He's an assassin adept. He's got light armor, halberd. He's got the leader skill as well as a perfect killer skill as well. So he's really good at fighting. And then right next to him, of course, is Roar the Rat Ogre, who's got fear, stupidity, as well as a large target special rule. And if you notice there on the right-hand side, there's a beautiful close-up of the ruined aqueducts that Iron Major has also made for this battlefield as well. It just looks absolutely fantastic. It looks nice and ruined and damaged. Beautiful details on the stonework. He's also put a lot of detritus and dirt and also as well as grass and stuff like that in the center of the aqueduct. It look like it's overgrown. It's just an absolutely beautiful piece of terrain. And well, like I said before, we'll talk about it some more in detail in another hobby side video. But man, that aqueduct just makes this battlefield really pop. And then finally, on the top of the catwalks, the top right there, the aqueducts, leading at the front, that is Squee the Lurker. He is a Night Runner with fighting claws, and right behind him is Squeak the Festering, who is a Black Skaven with weeping blades. And that pretty much makes up Dark Lord Mac's deployment on this one. So with deployment over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 1, and both Dark Lord Mac and I roll off our initiative to see who will be going first. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 1 for the Marienburg Mercenaries. We skip recovery phase because nothing has happened yet, and we go directly to the movement phase. And here's an overhead shot of the entirety of the battlefield, so that way you can see exactly what I'm doing. The first thing I do is I activate Burke, as well as his little fire team of Burke, Heckle, as well as Tulak. And basically I run those guys over the left-hand side to the ruins there. And the reason why I run to that set of the ruins is because they got to search that ruins for any treasure. Unfortunately for me, though, none of them was checked out, so everything was perfectly fine there. At the same time, in the center of the battlefield, I send Darrows, one of my warriors, over the left-hand side to check out that platform there that's outside the ruins there. To check for that one, nothing, of course, was found there. Meanwhile, the rest of that little fire team, Commander CheapSkate, Wedge, Biggs, as well as Jasper, they run forward as quick as they can to the center structure to where that bell tower is, so that way they can start occupying it. They're also taking cover behind that little wall, so that way they don't get shot at for the most part. Meanwhile, on the far right-hand side as well, I also send in my young blood, Jekyll. Jekyll actually runs up into the ruins there, that blue set of ruins. Right right next to the church to check to see if there's any treasure in there. Nothing is found. At the same time, I also run in Yasta, my marksman. He actually runs up to the very top of the tower, going inside and running to the roof, checking that building as well, finding no treasure either. And then finally, Haig, my champion, also runs right between the ruin as well as the tower on the right-hand side to make his way towards that giant fortified tower right there on the right-hand side made out of wood in order to check that one as well. And that pretty much makes up my move phase on this one. So here's a close-up of Burke, Heckle, as well as Tulak moving into that first set of ruins and checking out and finding no treasure so far. But at the same time, though, I'm also protecting my left-hand flank from any attacks that might be coming that way. And here's a close-up of Jasper checking out that ruins on the left-hand side and not finding anything, while Darrow's, Biggs, Wedge, as well as Commander CheapSkate are making their way towards the bell tower there in the middle of the battlefield. And finally, here's a close-up over here on the right-hand side. You can see Heckle. He's searching that first ruins on the left-hand side, not finding any treasure, while while Haig runs right through both the ruins as well as the tower, making his way to the Goblin Tower across the battlefield. And on the right-hand side, you can see Yasta there on the top of the tower, searching for treasure but not finding any as well. And since my entire warband ran, there is no shooting phase, so no, since someone's engaging with close combat, we skip that phase, and we go directly to the bottom turn number 1 for the Skaven. Alright, so that takes directly to the bottom turn number 1 for the Clan Eshin Skaven, and this photo is taken after the movement phase. And for the most part, Dark Lord matches kind of mirrored my own same exact tactic as well. He's also trying to screen the buildings, trying to find if he can find the treasure chest at all. So the first thing it does, of course, is that he sends his Vermikin Slipper, the Swarm. He actually runs that guy, as well as Crick the Almost Trusted, as well as Snarl the Rabid, and those guys run directly into the gatehouse there on the wall there on the left-hand side. Now, if you'll notice, the gatehouse roof is actually taken off, and the reason why is because when Iron Major made that terrain piece, he made the roof removable so that way you can actually see guys fighting inside of it, which is a really cool feature about that terrain piece. So those guys are inside there. Unfortunately for them, they didn't find the treasure chest, so nothing is found there. At the same time, he also activates Scritch, Spikeclaw, as well as Roar, the Rat Ogre. Roar the Rat Ogre passed his leadership test for a stupidity test because Scritch the Spikeclaw was there, and they both go running directly into the building there, the black roofed building right next to the carts there in the middle of the battlefield. They searched that building, couldn't find anything either. At the last set of movement that he actually does, he actually activates Squeak the Lurker as well as Squeak the Festering, his two Skaven on the top of the aqueduct. They run as quick as they can across the battlefield, heading towards that little walkway, making their way directly to that Goblin Tower there on the right hand side. And that pretty much makes up the movement phase on this one. So here's a close-up of Slipper the Swarm, as well as Crick the Almost Trusted and Snarl the Rabbit going inside directly into the gatehouse, searching for any buried treasure and not finding any. And here's a close-up of Roar, checking out that black roofed house, but not finding any treasure inside of it. And here's a close-up of Squeak the Festering, as well as Squeak the Lurker, moving as quick as they can along the top of the aqueducts, making directly their way to the gangplank there to make their way to the tower there on the right-hand side. And finally, here's a close-up of Scritch, Spikeclaw. I forgot to mention this. He actually went to the other side of the aqueducts and actually checked that set of ruins out to see if he could find the treasure chest, and he couldn't find it either. And that pretty much makes the move phase on this one. And since everyone ran for the most part in this warband, there is no shooting phase, and since no one was engaged in close combat, we skip that phase and go directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Marienburg Mercenaries. Alright, so that takes directly to the bottom of turn number 2 from the Marienburg Mercenaries, and this photo is taken out their movement phase because we skip recovery phase because no one needs it right now. And this is where we realized for both Dark Lord Mac and I that the only buildings that basically have the possibility of holding treasure is either the bell tower in the middle of the table or the wooden tower there on the far right hand side. So because of that, the first thing I do is I activate Commander CheapSkate. He actually runs into the bell tower to search for it, and unfortunately for him, there's nothing found there, which means the only building that's left is that wooden tower there on the right hand side. So because I start moving my guys over the right hand side as quick as I can in order to grab that treasure. The first thing I do is I activate Wedge, Biggs, as well as Darrows and Jasper. All 4 of those fighters actually move up to the bell tower and make their way up to the gantry walkways using their run characteristics in order to do that. My plan is to send them directly onto the aqueducts. Hopefully I can take on the 2 Skaven on the top of it and take them down, or at least provide some covering fire so that the rest of my team can move forward. At the same time, I also run my champion Burke, as well as my Youngblood Heckle, as well as my marksman Tulak. Burke and Heckle make their way directly towards the bell tower, while Tulak actually runs the top of the head of Sigmar in order to lay down some covering fire. I do have some Skaven on my left-hand flank, so if they decide to try to intercept me on the left-hand side, hopefully I can shoot them with my blunderbuss, take a couple of them out, and then pick off the rest with my bow as time goes on. At the same time that is occurring, I also, on the right-hand side, I also run my champion, Haig. He actually goes running directly into the base of the wooden tower, and he actually finds a treasure chest because it's the only one that's found there. He also knits himself 2 additional experience points for bonuses for actually finding that treasure chest as well. Now, after he does that, of course, I also send in, and I kind of did this backwards. The first thing I actually did was actually send in my Youngblood, Heckle. Actually, not Heckle, Jekyll. His name. God, I gotta do something about these rhyming names. Jekyll runs to the top of the tower so that way he can lend some support to my other marksmen of their Yasta. And I realize it's probably a bad idea because Heckle should be down the ground to help out Haig, because I forgot that Haig's movement allowance will be reduced in half, so kind of made a fumble there on that one. I kind of screwed that one up on my part. However, when it comes to Yasta, my marksman, though, he just moves it to the side of the tower there, so that way he can open fire on anybody that's coming directly to the bottom of the tower, so that way he can lay down some covering fire. And that pretty much makes my move phase on this one. So here's a close-up of Burke and Heckle, as well as Tulok taking out cover positions there on the left-hand side. You can also see Darrows moving as quick as he possibly can to the base of the bell tower to help out. And on the first floor of the tower, right behind the ladder, you can kind of see him. He's kind of shadowed. That's my warband leader, Commander CheapSkate. He's there because he went to go search the tower originally to see if there's any treasure inside there. He didn't find it. The rest of my team, however, which was Jasper as well as Briggs and Wedge, they actually climbed to the top of the tower and started making their way across the catwalk towards the aqueduct, so that way they can start intercepting the Skaven. And here's a little bit where I kind of flipped my plan a little bit. I sent my other Youngblood Jekyll directly into the tower. I should actually had him drop to the ground and actually support Haig, but I don't know what I was thinking at the time. I'm just being honest with my reporting. So because that Jekyll runs to the top of the roof, at the same time, Tulok Yasa also moves into the catwalk, so that way he has a good line of sight to open up anything with his blunderbuss at the same time. And then you can see down to the bottom, you can see Haig down there. In fact, there is a close-up of Haig who found the treasure chest, which is that little wooden box right there right next to him. It will reduce his movement allowance unless someone actually helps him out to move it. He actually has movement 2, which would be really hard for him at the same time. So with the move phase over with, we go directly to the shooting phase. And in the shooting phase, I end up activating Yasta in order to open up with his blunderbuss, because so long as the enemy is within 16 inches of him, he can actually hit them with his blunderbuss. It's an area 16 inches long and 1 inch wide, and directly 16 inches across from him is Squeak the Festering as well as Squeak the Lurker. So I decided to have him open fire with his blunderbuss. Managed to hit both those guys automatically because it does. The only problem though is it's only a strength 3 attack, but at the same time though it automatically hits, which is always a good thing. And as you can see in this photo, managed to hit both those Skaven. I actually managed to put a knockout result on, I believe it was on Squee the Lurker is who I ended up imagining hit on that one. Managed to put that guy in a knockdown result, and Squeak the Festering did get hit, but he didn't get wounded. But however, because they're so close to the edge, they both had to take initiative tests to see if they actually fall or not, and unfortunately for them, they did fall. They fell 7 inches directly in the ground, getting strength 7 hits. I think they had 3 hits on Squee and 2 hits on Squeak, I believe is what it was. Either way you look at it though, both those guys go directly out of action as well, just taking out the first 2 members of the Spikeclaw swarm, netting me 2 kills on that one as well, which is just pretty awesome. It shows you the power of a blunderbuss, especially if you're shooting next to somebody who's near the edge of a walkway. So with that, we go directly to turn number 2 for the Clan Eshin Skaven. This photo is taken after the move phase. During the recovery phase, my buddy Darklord Mac had to take a route test. Lucky for him, though, he did manage to pass it, no problem. So because of that, he starts maneuvering his forces. The first thing he actually does, he actually runs Spikeclaw across the battlefield, the right-hand side, through the ruins, over to the other side of the wooden tower where Haig is located at. It's not close enough in order to charge him, but at the same time, he's also charging the distance in order to kind of get in combat with him, so that way he can charge into his next turn. Hopefully fight him as well for possession of the treasure chest. At the same time, he also runs Crick the Almost Trusted. Same thing with Snarl the Rabbit and the Skipper the Swarm. Those guys actually run out of the tower there next to the wall, and they actually take cover behind the cart there on the left hand side as well, taking some cover behind the cart so that way they can move across the battlefield and intercept him on the left-hand side. And then unfortunately for Dark Lord Mac, he then activates Roar, but unfortunately Roar has the stupidity special rule, so he has to roll 2d6, and he forgot that Roar had a horrible leadership score of only 4, so because of that he does fail his leadership test, and because of that he only stumbles for 2 inches out of cover from behind the black house, roofed house, making his way directly towards Commander CheapSkate and the rest of his fire team as well. And that part was super tragic for him, because I got a lot of men there with pistols who were just waiting to open fire on a rat ogre. So here's a close-up of the left-hand side with Crick the Almost Trusted, as well as Snarl the Rabbit and Roar taking some covered positions behind those cars there as they make their way across the battlefield. And here's a close-up of Roar, who's just kind of stumbling forward like a moron because unfortunately he failed his stupidity test, and he's just kind of making his way directly towards my fire team of mercenaries armed with pistols. And finally, here's a close-up of Scritch Spikeclaw as he runs his way directly to the right-hand side of the tower, making his way directly towards Haig as well. At the same time, he's not close enough to charge yet, but during the next turn, though, he will be able to charge into Haig, fight him in close combat for possession of that treasure chest, which is actually kind of scary. And since most of his team round, there is no shooting, and plus he doesn't have any shooting weapons, so we skip that phase. We go directly to the top of turn number 3 for the Marienburg Mercenaries. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn 3 for the Marienburg Mercenaries, and once again this photo is taken after the movement phase as well. Pretty much for the movement phase, the only real movement that really took place that was any dramatic at all was right there on the top of the tower there, between the catwalk, between the tower as well as the aqueduct. All I did is I just kind of shuffled my guys along the catwalks, that way the rest of my team can show up. So Commander CheapSkate ends up going up there, same thing with Darrows. He joins up with Wedge Biggs as well as Jasper, and all 5 of those guys are a perfect distance for them to open up their pistols directly into Roar. And since Roar is a large target, they also get +1 to hit for their ballistic skill, which is absolutely awesome. At the same time, I also move up both Burke as well as Heckle. Those guys move their normal movement allowance to the left-hand side of the tower, so that way they can shoot at Roar as well. Burke has a bow, so he'll be able to hit them no problem, and Heckle also has a pistol, so that part would be kind of nice too. And then finally, I keep Tulok exactly where he's located at, because he's going to open up with his blunderbuss directly into those 3 Skaven hiding behind that cart for the most part. Now on the right-hand side, I keep Tulok exactly where he's located at, so that way he can open up with his bow directly into Screech Spikeclaw. I then run Jekyll all the way down to the bottom level from the tower, so that way he can help out Haig. And then of course I ran Haig, only moved 4 inches because his movement characteristic is cut in half. He runs out from the base of the tower carrying the treasure chest, trying to link up with Jekyll, so that way the both of them will be able to carry it without any movement penalties. And that pretty much makes up my movement phase on this one. So here's a close-up of pretty much my entire warband just kind of lining up to take pot shots directly at Roar, just because my guys are blood money mercenaries and they're kind of cruel that way. I feel kind of bad for the Rat Ogre as well, because I have Burke, Heckle, Commander CheapSkate, Wedge Biggs, Darrows, and Jasper opening up on him. I have 6 pistols, actually, yeah, 6 pistol shots going directly into him, as well as a bow shot as well. So I'm really interested to see exactly what the firepower of all those pistols will do against a Rat Ogre. And here's a close-up of Haig, trying to move directly out of the bottom of the tower, carrying his treasure chest with him as well, only moving 4 inches because movement speed is directly cut in half. And right next to him on the right-hand side, you can see that that's Jekyll, who actually ran down the bottom of the tower, so that way my next turn he can hook up with Haig and they both can run away with their treasure chest. And then finally, here's a close-up of Tulok, getting ready to open fire with his bow directly into Screech Spikeclaw as well. So with the movement phase over with, you go directly to the shooting phase, and the very first of my shooters I activate is Tulok, who's my marksman. My marksmen both carry axes, they both carry bows, and they both carry blunderbusses exactly for this reason. So because that, Tulok unslings his blunderbuss from his back, takes aim with it, and opens fire directly into Slipper of the Swarm, as well as Snarl the Rabbit, as well as Crick the Almost Trusted. He's going to open up with those guys and hit him with his blunderbuss because he automatically hits and causes strength 3 wounds, which is pretty awesome as well. So, to make matters worse, I get 2 out-of-action results out of that as well, which is pretty awesome. Crick the Almost Trusted is perfectly fine. I don't manage to wound him at all. However, for the other 2 guys, though, for Slipper of the Swarm, as well as Snarl the Rabbit, when I hit for both those guys, I rolled 2 6s to wound, which actually causes critical hits on those as well. Actually caused 2 injuries per guy. So because of that, what ended up happening is that they have to actually roll twice on the injury table. That was the result for the Slipper of the Swarm. I actually rolled that one. He actually rolled 1-4, and I think I rolled a 6, so because he goes out of action. When it came for Snarl the Rabbit, though, when I rolled for my critical injury for him, I rolled a perfect 6 on that again, so because he gets twice as much damage, and also I get +2 on my injury rolls, and he also goes out of action as well. So just like that, 2 more members of Spikeclaw Swarms bite the dust, and they will only roll up on the serious injury table to see exactly what happens to them. Also, during the shooting phase, Commander CheapSkate, Wedge, Biggs, Darrows, and Jasper, as well as Burke and Heckle, open up with their pistols, as well as their bow directly into Roar. Managed to only put 2 wounds on him. I actually kind of flooded my rolls for the most part, especially when it came to the hitting. That part was really sad, because they all got a +1 to hit. I rolled a bunch of 1s and 2s for the most part. So because of that, I think nearly half my shots missed, and then the other ones, I think, were unable to wound for the most part. So because that only caused 2 wounds. So he's 1 wound away from being put out of action. At the same time, though, I wish I would have finished that guy off. It would have been kind of cool to see a giant rag ogre just kind of drop dead from being shot at by our firing squad. And to make matters worse, not only does Tulog manage to hit Scrish Spikeclaw, also managed to wound him as well, putting a knocked out result on him. So because he goes crashing face down to the ground and is currently bleeding out from an arrow being stuck in his body right now. So with the rest of my turn over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 3 for Clan Eshin Skaven. And unfortunately for Dark Lord Mac, because of all the losses he takes so far, he has to take a route test. As you can see here, he actually rolled an 8 with 2 4s on that one. Scrish Spikeclaw's only leadership 7, so because of that, his warband decides to route into Helion and get out of there because they don't want to lose any more guys, and that pretty much causes an end for the battle report. And there you have it, people. End of the game with the Marienburg Mercenaries. Managed to sneak the win on this one. And not to mention that, I also managed to take the treasure chest home with me, and I managed to use that as well. So that part is really cool too. So that being said, we go directly to the post game and talk about exactly what happened to warbands, because this battle report is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Alright, first of all, we start off with Spikeclaw Swarm. So he did suffer 4 injuries on this one: Squeak the Festering, Squeak the Lurker, Snarl the Rabbit, as well as the Swarm. Squeak the Festering actually got a smash leg result, and we rolled for the D6 on him. He actually goes in recovery, so because of that, he will miss out on his next game. So that part's kind of rough. Squeak the Lurker, however, made a full recovery, and Snarl the Rabbit actually lives up to his name. He actually suffered a madness result, and actually when he rolled again to see what madness he suffered from, he suffers from Frenzy. So now Snarl the Rabbit is definitely living up to his name as well. Meanwhile, Slipper of the Swarm, he managed to survive no problem, with made some full recovery after that. For advancements, Squeak the Lurker actually levels up as well, earning +1 to his weapon skill, so now that Night Runner is a little bit deadlier in close combat. During the exploration phase, he only had a couple of guys be able to do exploration. He managed to find 2 weird stone shards worth 50 gold pieces. During the trading post, he decided to purchase slings for his warband. He purchased slings for Scritch Spikeclaw, Crick the Almost Trusted, Squeak the Festering, Squeak the Lurker, Snarl the Rabbit, as well as Slipper of the Swarm. And with the rest of his gold pieces that he left over, he recruited a brand new verminkin named Gnaw of the Skitters. He armed him with a spear, shield, as well as a sling. His new record now is at 1 win and 1 loss, and his new warband rating now is at 106 points. And finally, go on to the Meridian Freeblades, my warband. For injuries, didn't suffer any warband injuries. However, a lot of my guys did advance. Commander CheapSkate actually leveled up, earning +1 to his leadership, so now he's actually leadership 9. Haig also leveled up as well, getting +1 to his strength, so now he's strength 4. Heckle and Jekyll both leveled up as well, earning +1 to the ballistic skill, which is all kinds of awesome. Now my henchmen's group, the Company of Haig, those guys actually got +1 for their strength for Wedge and Big, so that was pretty cool. Same thing with the Company of Heckle, which is Tulok and Yassa. Both those guys got +1 to their ballistic skill, which makes them living deadlier now in shooting, which is really, really good as well. Now, as for Darrows and Jasper, when I actually rolled for those guys, I actually rolled a 10 for Darrows and 11 for Jasper, which resulted in the Lads Got Talent ability, which means both those guys get promoted to heroes, which is all kinds of cool because that really helps out in the exploration phase. Not to mention, when I also rolled for their advancements as well, Darrows got a skill, so he learned the Step Aside skill, so he gets a 5 ward save in close combat, and Jasper also earned the Eagle Eye skill, giving him +6 to the range of his ranged weapons when he shoots as well. So that part was kind of cool. I decided to give both combat as well as shooting skills to both Darrows and Jasper for my warband. And the exploration page managed to find 6 weird stones in all, 5 from exploring as well as 1 from the treasure chest that I captured. I sold those, earned 90 gold pieces from that. During the exploration phase, I also found a Fletcher because I rolled triple 4s, and because I found D3 crossbows, in which case when I rolled my D3 result, I found 2 crossbows. So I got 2 more crossbows for my warband as well, which is pretty cool. From the trading post, I earned 80 gold pieces from my weird stones, 90 gold pieces from the weird stones that I sold. In the treasure chest, I found 1 additional weird stone shard, which bumped up to 90. I got 12 gold pieces. I found a suit of light armor, a sword, and then 3 gems, which were worth 30 gold pieces in all when I sold them. I decided to give the sword and the light armor that I found in the treasure chest to Commander CheapSkate to make him a little bit tougher in combat. And then, of course, with all the gold pieces that I had left over, I decided to hire 2 hired swords for my group. The first one I decided to hire was a new ogre bodyguard named Goldfag Maneater, who's equipped with a sword club as well as light armor, so there's a little bit more close combat killing power in my warband. And I decided to hire a warlock named Ninepence Nicolo, who knows the spells Silver Arrows of Ara as well as the sword of Rezabel. So because I got new hired swords for my warband as well to help me out, fight. I got some magic now. I also got some big strong brute to fight for me in close combat. Everyone's able to shoot, which is pretty cool as well. And then finally, with the 2 crossbows I found for the exploration, I decided to give those crossbows to Heckle and Jekyll. For my rest of my money, I then purchased shields for Burke, Haig, Heckle, and Jekyll. I took the 2 remaining gold pieces and put them directly into my treasury. My new record now is at 2 wins and 0 losses, and my new rare band rating is at 155 points. So that's going to do it for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest, greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's going to do it for this one, you guys. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out and stay classy.